Congratulations on the G, and I'm assuming you're in Montreal. How is it so far?
Thank you. Well, I took the red eye last night from
Oh,
California. A little jet laggy. I got to my hotel way early, so they let me sleep on the lobby couch for 2 hours until my room was ready. Yeah, which was great. And then my room was ready, and I was able to take a shower and come here to do some interviews. So I've
yay.
only been here once before when I was here filming the G 2 years ago in
Oh,
November when it was
cool.
very, very, very cold, very snowy and nice. And everyone at that time, all the crew, because everyone else was from, Canada, they were all
Yeah.
like, you gotta come back in the summer. There's festivals and fairs. And, then Carl told me about this. So I'm really glad that I could make it. I wasn't sure I was going to get here, but I'm glad it worked out.
Montreal's so cool. I'm gonna be at the festival this weekend, and it's just like one of my favorite places. So yeah, it's rad.
Yeah, it
But
is.
congratulations on the G. What a badass movie for you to star in. And you have such an incredible filmography. And I was curious, like coming into this movie, what to you felt different about this compared to like all of the other things you've done before? Or did it feel different at all?
Well, number one, it's a leading role, and I've spent my whole career. I love the kind of roles I do,
Yeah.
supporting as a teacher from college. There are no small roles, and I'd sweep somebody's floor to be on their set, but having a lead that's such a strong, dynamic, fully fleshed out character, with a past that she's carrying with her and the whole twists and turns was really appealing to me. A strong woman character. You don't get those that much. So we're usually
Yeah.
victims. So yeah,
Oh,
that,
wow.
and it's kind of a culmination of or conglomeration of all the badass roles I played with a bunch of
Yeah.
different that I've played coming, excuse me, in and out of different shows or films. And now I get to sustain that through line and make it hopefully multifaceted. Our director, Carl Hearn, really, he was terrific, worked hard with me to try to make sure that it wasn't one note. That was what I was nervous about because she's so
Yeah.
intense for most of it, but
Yeah.
it worked.
She's so intense, but also like I want a G in my life. You know what I mean? Like there's something about her that is so lovable, even though she is so tough. And maybe that's because of my own grandmother, but I don't know. Like I just felt, there's something so interesting about her, and you make her so compelling, even though you don't like it's not you don't tell us everything, but it's so compelling. Like the journey, especially of Anne.
Yeah, I think, and I think that's a testament to Carl's writing and
Yeah.
casting. I couldn't have asked for a better co-star than Roman and
Oh,
Denis. And
she's so good.
she's terrific, and she's just an incredible kid too. She's so smart and funny and talented, and the camera loves her. But I mean, it was easy to feel connected to her, and it really is important for the G's character because it's sort of the only person that she is even mildly polite to in a certain way. I know
Yeah.
Carl, the director, bases loosely on his real Irish grandmother, who was
Oh,
real
really?
tough to me. Yeah, I mean, she didn't like anybody, but she took a liking to Carl when he was little, but she still scared him, because she was pretty fierce. So
Yeah.
it's good to have somebody on your side that as for elderly people to be an advocate and fight back.
Yeah.
So it was fun to play that side.
But it's also so cool to see, like, in movies, we don't see a lot of like older actors in roles like this, like wielding a gun and just like absolutely owning the screen. And it's just so cool, especially after seeing you in so much, to see you own the screen so often and so powerfully. And that must have been a really great experience for you as a performer. I'd like to hear more about that experience, just for you to have so much power in this character.
Yeah, thank you. It really it was a great experience, and um she is very, very powerful. We talk a lot about the anger. She has the line about you live longer if you let your anger out, and I do think that that's pretty true with humanity. I mean, we all have
Yeah.
our moments of anger, and I'm from the South, and it was always everything was polite, and I was very afraid of confrontation my whole life. I don't like confrontation,
Yeah.
but somewhere in me, I have something that can play those characters, perhaps because I'm not comfortable with it in my real life. Uh, but yeah, it the violent when I first read the script, I shy away from doing anything with too much violence in it. I
Yeah.
just don't like putting that out in the world. But this is there for a reason, and it's there for a good reason, because she's, getting revenge on some people that have done some pretty horrible things to her family, which I think we'll all stand up for our family for the most part. That's what I'm really good in a crisis.
Yeah.
You want me in a crisis, I can come in and help. On a day-to-day basis, not so much, but when the shit hits the fan, excuse me, I'll be there, just like the G.
Hell yeah. And I also kind of love that you have a sex scene in this movie. Like it's incredible. Like what is it? I mean, what is your experience with sex scenes in movies? Is this one of your first that you've ever done, or at least recently?
Zero,
Zero.
zero.
Okay,
Uh,
so this is your first. Was this your
I
first sex scene?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually my agent and I laugh about it, because when I did a love song 3 or 4 years ago, I don't know if you saw that. That was another lead, my first lead. It was my first on-screen kiss, and I was like 59 with Wes Studi.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so
pretty
that was
cool.
was my first. Yeah, that was my first on-screen kiss. And then when this script came along, and when I talked to Carl about, I said, I'm pretty shy. I'm now in my 60s, and now you want me to do a sex scene? That just doesn't seem right. I was very nervous.
Yeah.
I'm very self-conscious, and
Yeah.
I really was nervous about doing it, but they handled it so well. I felt very comfortable. Rock LaFortune couldn't have asked for a better partner there. We're both happily married, and we made Carl, we set boundaries about what you can touch, what you can't. And it worked beautifully. That was a close set, flat RDP. The rain magically just came out the window, which makes it even prettier. But
Whoa.
and I had great makeup and hair girls, Jopat and Soraya, who were watching monitor for me. I'm like, okay, so look, if my cellulites really showing in this shot, help me tuck it under. Those kind of stupid things you do as a
Yeah.
as a woman. I
Yeah.
don't care anymore. And so it was actually very liberating. And once we got through it, I was like, why were you so nervous about it? And it's important. You don't see on screen, particularly in American films, you don't see older people being intimate or that kind of
No.
and it, parallels what goes on with my granddaughter. And I just think it's a beautiful part of the story. And I'm glad that Carl pushed me to do it. It was important.
Yeah, well, and again, like Carl's giving a voice to like people just don't treat sometimes older people with like respect, whereas humans, as we see in this movie, and I think this movie really gives so much humanity to one like an older woman, but still giving that agency that I think, especially older women, are like infantilized sometimes, like a lot of times, and having your character kind of be that foil is so nice in a world where like older women are so archetype like are just so thought of as one
Oh,
thing.
absolutely. And Roman, who plays Emma, her mother has been in like the healthcare industry or nursing homes. So Emma's grown up.
Oh, okay.
I've cared for my parents. They both passed now, but in and out of the hospitals and nursing homes and hospice at home. And you just see how people just sort of toss the elderly away. I know nothing infuriated my mother more. She had Alzheimer's. And my father would say too, the doctors, they don't listen to you. They're talking at you. Like my mom, I mean, you did not want to cross her. This one doctor just wouldn't even look at her. And she goes, excuse me, I'm in the room, you know? And
Good
they
for her,
just
but like, God, it's so
your
frustrating
life
she
is
has to say that.
over. Let's just discard you. And as Ramon said, these are people that have had full, wonderful lives and were very strong and forceful in their youth, and they have stories to tell, and we need to learn from that. I've always respected the Native Americans. They've always had great respect for their elders. And, I, yeah, it is important. It's important, particularly with women, the whole thing about my mom had a heart attack too, and they said, oh, women are always, they don't get the same treatment that men do in healthcare.
No. Well, and also because our symptoms manifest differently. So people don't even know sometimes that they're having a heart attack because women heart attack symptoms are different than men's. And like that's terrifying. It's just so
Exactly. And my
yeah.
mother had a heart attack. She was a huge smoker, and I was living in New York, and for the first time I started having chest pains, and I went to the hospital. I was in my late 20s, and they laughed at me. They went, you're in your 20s, you're healthy, you're not having a heart attack. And I said, well, something's going on. And I have coronary artery disease or whatever. So it's a mess. It's really, I don't know how people get through this world sometimes with
I
dealing with
know.
all the bureaucracy and healthcare.
Yeah, I know. But hopefully this movie can help shine a light a little bit on it. I don't know, maybe help people realize like, no, this is a real industry that's happening in our like in the world. And it's unfortunately like the reality. Like, Fantasia is a horror, like there's a lot of genre movies, but this is like the horror of reality, which is why it's cool to see this movie in the lineup and looking at that
Yeah,
and having.
it's really,
Yeah.
and I know Carl said wonderful things about this festival. I'm really excited to be here. And it does shine a light, we talking earlier, don't necessarily, it's not a social messaging film, but it
Yeah.
certainly shines a light, a big problem, just in general of treating our elderly people. I mean, it's hideous what goes on. It's
No,
just
I know.
horrifying. And
Yeah.
I've said before, it often, if my parents had not had anyone to help care for them, and perhaps if they had had a lot of money, and with my mom and Alzheimer's, who knows who could have come in and just taken over.
It's so scary.
So
It's so scary to like, oh, it's just such a scary world.
yeah,
And
but it
people are
can
just,
happen.
oh, I know.
So we're gonna stay strong, make sure it doesn't happen. I don't know. I
Well,
might become a healthcare advocate now in my older years. So
seriously, I know. Well, it was so nice to meet you and to chat with you about the G. I'm a fan of your work, so it's an honor to get to chat with you and to see you in a leading role
thank,
like this. It's just awesome.
thank you, Mary Beth.